Well, let's take stock of how indices performed midweek through trade, as well as how Asian indices have opened this Thursday morning. The S&P 500 and the Dow closed at record closes on Wednesday, with the Dow rising for a sixth straight day in a row to close around 0.25% higher in trade on Wednesday. The S&P 500 closed marginally higher as well, was up around 14 basis points in trade. The Nasdaq, though, fell a tenth of a percent in trade on Wednesday. The WHO, though, warned that new COVID variants could continue to emerge, and that these variants could be resistant to current vaccines as well as past infections. And investors continue to assess these announcements as well as, of course, Omicron and the economic impact of some of these. Moving on to Europe. European stocks outside of the UK closed marginally lower, with the German DAX down 0.7%, the CAC 40, which is the French index, down around 0.25%, and the Stock 600 down around 0.1% in trade. However, the UK FTSE closed 0.2% higher, so that was the standout index in Europe. Moving on to how Asian stocks performed yesterday. They were broadly lower outside of Australia. Australia was the only gainer among major Asian indices. The Nikkei was down over 0.5% in trade, and of course the Shanghai, the Hang Seng as well as the Kospi down anything between 4/5 to 1% lower in trade yesterday. The ASX 200 was up around 1.2%. And looking at how Asian indices have opened this morning, some have opened absolutely flat, while the Chinese indices have held on to some gains. The Nikkei is down around 7 basis points in early trade today, absolutely flat. So is the ASX 200, pretty much flat. The Kospi is down around 1/3%, pardon me, and the Shanghai and the Hang Seng are both up over around 0.5% in early trade today. When I look at the SGX Nifty, it was holding on to a small gain in early trade today, but that has now been let off and it's into small negative territory, down around 0.1% in early trade today. So doesn't look great or a great start for Indian indices. When we look at how commodities are doing, oil continues to move marginally higher. It's now at $76.5 a barrel, and gold prices have eased. Gold is still above the $1,800 an ounce mark, and it continues to hold out very well over there. When we look at the dollar index, that slipped below the 96 mark. That's a bit of a surprise. It slipped below 96. It's in fact at 95.9 as we speak in early trade today. And the US 10-year treasury yields have risen sharply, though, in contrast. So that those have gone up by around 7 basis points at close or at the start of trade today. It's up at 1.55%. So that's a steep rise or a sudden rise in US treasuries. And that has largely been followed by fresh treasuries being issued by the Federal Reserve in the US at 1.48%. So subsequent to that, treasury yields have gone up. Also, that could be due to the Federal Reserve stopping its bond buying till the 3rd of January. And that may lead to some more correction in US treasury yields. Moving on to Bitcoin, it's been on the tumble. It continues to do that. It's currently at $46,500 or thereabouts. That's the kind of mark it's at. That's broadly how indices as well as global markets are doing today morning.